My fiancé looked me in the eye one evening and said, "If you really loved me, you'd pay off my parents' mortgage." I didn't argue. I simply nodded. Then I canceled our wedding. 72 hours later, her entire family stormed into my office. My name is Michael. I'm a project manager, and my world revolves around Gantt charts, risk assessments, and 5-year strategies. I had always believed that my relationship with Jennifer, 29, was the most solid project I had ever undertaken. With only 4 months left until our wedding day, I thought everything was on track. Now I realize I had misjudged the risks entirely. The foundation wasn't sturdy. It was crumbling from the very beginning. There had been early warning signs, little red flags I brushed off. Her parents, Robert and Patricia, often joke about the trips I would be treating them to in the future. Jennifer pushed me to upgrade the engagement ring I had worked so hard to save for. Something more impressive, she said, to match what her friends had. I gave in. I rationalized it as a small sacrifice, a minor cost in the grand budget of our life together. But the last demand crossed a line. It happened over a quiet dinner of pasta. Jennifer spoke of her parents' financial struggles, explaining with carefully measured helplessness that they might lose their home. She reached across the table, placed her hand on mine, and with a perfectly sweet voice said, "You're so good with money. If you truly love me, you'll take care of this. Just think of it as an early wedding gift." It wasn't a request. It was a bill. In that moment, everything I thought we were building together, our marriage, our family, our shared future, revealed itself as something else entirely. I wasn't her partner. I was her funding source. I didn't yell. That's not how my mind works. When a project is fatally flawed, you don't rage at the blueprints. You execute a clean demolition. I slowly pulled my hand back and gave her a calm, deliberate nod. "I understand," I said. Her face lit up with relief, as if she had secured the financing she'd been counting on. "Thank you, baby," she said, smiling. The drive back to my apartment was silent. Once the shock wore off, a cold, steady anger took its place. By the time I walked to my front door, I knew what I had to do. I opened my laptop and began dismantling everything. The caterer, the photographer, the band. One by one, I called and canceled. I lost thousands in deposits, but with each email I sent, the weight in my chest loosened. By 3 a.m, our wedding existed only as a series of transactions buried in my credit card statements. I sent Jennifer one final text. "Jennifer, the wedding is canceled. I will not be paying your parents' mortgage. This is not the kind of partnership I want. I'll arrange for the ring to be collected. I wish you well." Then I blocked her parents, and her sister. Next, I opened a new spreadsheet titled Project Jennifer, Final Accounting. I started listing every expense, every cost sunk into the illusion I had been living. I knew there would be fallout, but I didn't expect the first wave to crash into me at work. Update 1, the confrontation at the office. It was as ugly as I had predicted. James from building security called to tell me a group was making a scene in the lobby. It was Jennifer and her family. I told him firmly not to let them up and quickly texted my boss, Mary. "Personal issue in the lobby. Sorry for the disruption. I'm handling it." When I went downstairs, it was like walking into a stage performance. Jennifer was playing the role of the devastated victim. Patricia dabbed at her eyes, though no tears were falling. Robert's face was flushed crimson, his anger ready to explode. "Michael," Robert roared, "you don't end an engagement with a text message. You will fix this. This is my workplace, Robert." I said evenly, "We're not having this conversation here. You embarrass my daughter." Patricia snapped, her voice rising. "You broke her heart because you're too stingy to help her family when they needed it." It was a public shaming attempt, a coordinated pressure campaign. They thought they could push me into reversing my decision. I turned directly to Jennifer. "My decision is final. This is over." At that moment, Mary, my boss, walked into the lobby. She was petite, but her presence carried undeniable authority. Her eyes swept over the scene before she asked in a cold, measured tone, "Is there a problem here?" Robert puffed himself up, trying to look imposing. "This is a private family matter," he declared. Mary didn't flinch. "It became my business the moment you started shouting in my lobby," she answered coolly. "Leave now, or I'll have security escort you out for trespassing." Defeated, they shuffled away, muttering under their breath. I knew, however, this was only the opening act. Within days, the smear campaign kicked off online. Her sister, Linda, led the charge. Cryptic posts about a cruel fiancé who had supposedly drained Jennifer emotionally and financially. I decided it was time to provide context. By then, my spreadsheet was precise down to the cent. I converted it into a PDF, an itemized breakdown of more than $38,000 I had covered in gifts, loans, and non-shared expenses over the past 2 years. I sent it to the entire family with a short note. For transparency, here's the context behind my decision. This is not an invoice. It is simply a record. As far as I'm concerned, this matter is closed. Then I scheduled an appointment with a lawyer. The news was a mixed bag. The engagement ring, legally, was considered a conditional gift. My attorney confirmed I could file a claim in small claims court to have it returned. That was the good part. The car was the bad part. Last year, I had co-signed on a vehicle for Jennifer. I asked about getting my name off the loan. My lawyer shook his head. "You're liable, Michael. The lender's agreement is with you, not Jennifer. Your arrangement with her was based on trust, and banks don't recognize trust. They recognize signatures." A wave of raw, self-directed anger hit me. How had I, the planner, the man who mapped out every contingency, made such a rookie mistake? I had attached myself to someone else's debt, and now I was stuck. It wasn't the loss of deposits that burned. It was a sense of being trapped. "If she stops paying," my lawyer explained, "you'll have to cover it to protect your credit. After that, you can sue her for reimbursement. But it's a messy process. No quick exit here. This is going to drag out. A war of attrition." I authorized him to file the small claims case of the ring. At least that was one front I could realistically win. Update 2. The war begins. The months that followed were a grinding ordeal. My calm, methodical strategy had pushed Jennifer's side into a corner, and in response, they resorted to cheap tricks. Strange pizza deliveries began showing up at my door. My email was flooded after someone signed me up for endless spam lists. Then came the call to my office. A supposed collections agent phoning the front desk, claiming I was under investigation for fraud. Mary intervened, had the number blocked, and assured me she knew it was nonsense. Still, the intent was clear. They wanted to tarnish my professional reputation. That was the final push I needed. I committed to seeing this through all the way to the end. The engagement ring became the first battlefield. They ignored the initial summons, probably assuming I'd give up. But eventually, a court date was set. Their attorney countered, insisting the ring had been a simple gift and that Jennifer had suffered severe emotional trauma. The legal back and forth was exhausting, dragged out over weeks. Meanwhile, Linda doubled down on her online crusade. She and Jennifer posted tearful, heavily filtered selfies, spinning a story of surviving narcissistic abuse and rebuilding after betrayal. They were painting themselves as heroes. A handful of mutual friends bought into performance. The rest stayed quiet, watching unfold. Then there was a car, the inescapable reality. Each month, I checked my bank account, dreading the possibility that her SUV payment would fall to me. It felt less like a vehicle and more like a shackle around my neck. This wasn't a clean revenge story. It was the ongoing price of my own poor judgment. There was no clever move to erase it, just the grim patience of waiting. My lawyer's warning echoed constantly, a long, messy road. The strain was clearly affecting them. 2. One evening, Robert called me directly. His voice wasn't booming this time. It was low, almost desperate. "Michael, just drop the lawsuit over the ring. For God's sake, people are talking. You're destroying us over a piece of metal." I let the silence stretch before answering. "You should have considered that before demanding I cover your mortgage, Robert." Then I ended the call that Robert's voice had the edge of desperation, like a man thrashing in deep water. But I wasn't about to dive in and drag him out. He was being swept away by the current of his own choices, and I let it carry him. The court date for the engagement ring was finally on the calendar. The financial strain on their side was obvious, and I knew this wasn't going to end in a quick, clean resolution. It was a drawn-out siege, and I was prepared to weight them down. Final update. The battle lasted nearly a year. 12 months of legal costs, childish harassment, and constant frustration. But eventually it was done. The hearing in small claims court was exactly as pathetic as I had envisioned. Their attorney leaned heavily on emotional appeals, painting me as heartless and cruel. My attorney, William, a precise, calculated man who lived for this kind of fight, was a complete opposite. When William submitted Jennifer's financial spreadsheet as evidence, her lawyer immediately objected. Your Honor, this is a biased, vindictive document, created solely to harm my client. The judge nodded. Objection sustained. The court won't consider this as a bill for collection. He glanced at William. Counselor, what's your direction here? William didn't miss a beat. Your Honor, this document provides crucial context. It shows a consistent pattern of financial expectation that culminated in a request for a six-figure mortgage payoff. That demand was a direct cause of the broken engagement, which makes the return of this conditional gift, the engagement ring, a legal necessity. He didn't need the spreadsheet to act as an invoice. He only needed it to serve as a believable narrative. And it was. The judge ruled in my favor. Jennifer and her parents were jointly ordered to reimburse me for the appraised value of the ring, $22,000. The domino effect. That ruling set everything else in motion. The family didn't have $22,000. They ignored the order for 2 months. So William began the process of filing a lien on Robert and Patricia's home. With their already shaky finances, that pressure was catastrophic. Their mortgage lender became alarmed, and suddenly, the house was under scrutiny. Right around that time, Jennifer missed a car payment. As a co-signer, the first notice of default came straight to me. My credit score took an immediate hit. The sting was real, and once again, I cursed myself for signing my name on that loan. Following William's strategy, I covered the overdue payment to protect my credit, then filed a lawsuit against Jennifer for reimbursement. I attached a note with the filing. This will happen every single time. Every month you fail to pay, I will cover it, and I will sue you for that amount plus legal fees. If you want to play this game, we'll be in court for the next 4 years. It was the threat of 1,000 small cuts. The following month, she defaulted again. The car was repossessed. Then came the final blow, the house. Between the lien, the repossession tied to Jennifer's name, and their inability to find financial rescue, the walls finally caved in. 3 months ago, a for sale sign appeared in their yard. They ended up selling at a loss just to free themselves from the debt and the lien. Last month, I took the Southeast Asia trip I had originally planned as our honeymoon. I went alone. It wasn't triumphant. It was quiet. While wandering through crowded markets and silent temples, I thought back over the past year, the attorney fees, the dent in my credit, the exhausting grind of it all. This wasn't a sweet, cinematic victory. It was a brutal, expensive escape from a future that would have devoured me. Through mutual friends, I heard the aftermath. Linda moved her parents into a small apartment an hour away. Jennifer, unemployed, is living with them. I don't feel joy. What I feel is a sense of release, like being dug out after being buried. The grief over the woman I believed I loved still lingers faintly, a scar rather than a wound. But that sadness is buried under something stronger, the immense relief of being free. I didn't destroy them. I simply stopped serving as a foundation they were standing on. And like any house without support, they collapsed under their own weight. My next 5-year plan is far simpler. And this time, it belongs entirely to me.